Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Senior Fellow at the Media Research Center. It is very perplexing and also disconcerting to me to hear some of the responses from people reference the killing of a terrorist leader. That's exactly what General Qasem Soleimani was. He was the terrorist leader of a force that is a designated Islamic terrorist organization that is part of the country that is the number one state sponsor of Islamic terrorism, the Quds Force. And when you think about this Islamic terrorism issue, we have been at war with Iran that they have declared as us as the great Satan since 1979, when they attacked sovereign United States territory, our embassy in Tehran, and took Americans hostages for a little over a year. That has continued on to 1983, when Hezbollah, which is still today an Iranian proxy terrorist army, attacked our Marines at the Beirut barracks. Over 240 of our Marines and sailors lost their lives. General Soleimani was in Lebanon, coordinating with Hezbollah. General Soleimani flew back into Baghdad to continue his coordination with Shiite paramilitary forces, the same Shiite paramilitary forces that had just within the last week conducted a missile attack of a military base that ended up with the death of an American contractor. Soleimani is also responsible for the attack against another United States embassy, the one there in Baghdad. As a matter of fact, those Shiite militias were spray painting his name on sovereign American territory. But even still, let us not forget that 18 to 20% of the deaths and the maiming of our United States men and women in uniform during Operation Iraqi Freedom was attributed to the efforts of General Qasem Soleimani, the development of those explosive force penetrator improvised explosive device, a very lethal improvised explosive device that he ensured were supplied to the terrorists in Iraq. And the results were devastating. I've met some of our men and women in uniform who lost limbs because of explosive force penetrators. But yet, why is it that all of a sudden the liberal progressive media is touting General Soleimani as some revered strategic genius, some vital general? Even a member of the United States House of Representatives, Representative Ilhan Omar, referred to this as the assassination of a foreign official. There are some people that have commented on the looks of General Soleimani. He's very handsome and dashing. Reminds me of when the Rolling Stone put the cover photo of the Boston Marathon killer, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, out there for all of us to see. When people are aligning themselves, when people are defending a terrorist leader, we have to ask what is happening in the United States of America. An individual that had the blood of Americans on his hands and was going to continue to do so. I know some people are saying that the Iraqi parliament has voted to expel United States forces. But remember, no Sunnis, no Kurds participated in that vote. And the prime minister in Iraq right now, he's on his way out. He was propped up and put there by Iran. General Soleimani was a heinous, evil, violent man. And instead of us having these debates about what President Trump decided to do, we should be celebrating the fact that this terrorist leader is gone. Not a single member of the Democrat Party challenged Barack Obama in his over 500 drone strikes that he conducted. Not a single member of the Democrat Party said anything. As a matter of fact, Hillary Clinton once said,
"What difference at this point does it make?"
When Islamic terrorists that Barack Obama had once supported to depose Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, but they overran a special mission compound, a consulate, sovereign United States territory in Benghazi. They killed 4 Americans. Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, Tyrone Woods, and Glenn Doherty. But there was nothing to be said about that. from the progressive socialist left. But now, when we take an action to kill a terrorist who has consistently had the blood of Americans on his hands, it seems that the Democrat socialists, many of the presidential candidates from the Democrat Party, would rather align themselves with the #1 state sponsor of Islamic terrorism than with the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, think about this. Should we go back to the policies of sending pallets of laundered cash in unmarked airplanes in the middle of the night to the Iranian Ayatollahs? Or when do we finally realize that Iran is all about the asymmetrical warfare of killing Americans by any means possible? In April of 1988, the Iranians laid mines out in the Persian Gulf across the Straits of Hormuz. One of those mines struck an American naval vessel. It took Ronald Reagan 2 weeks to respond. And he responded in what became the largest naval engagement since World War II, Operation Praying Mantis. And in Operation Praying Mantis, we did not lose not a single sailor. But the Iranians lost a frigate. The Iranians lost gunboats. The Iranians lost speedboats. They had oil platforms destroyed. They lost almost 60 sailors. We did not end up going to war with Iran. As a matter of fact, it was 3 years later, in 1991, that we deployed to fight against Saddam Hussein in Iraq in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. If we don't understand that you must stand up and take an action against this scourge called Islamic terrorism, that if you are a state that sponsors Islamic terrorism, then we will target and we will take out your leaders. Remember in World War II, when we got the intelligence about Admiral Yamamoto, the architect of Pearl Harbor, and his flight plan, we launched fighters to shoot him down. I applaud our military. I applaud President Trump for what he did in killing an Islamic terrorist leader, General Qasem Soleimani. And for those men and women that are deploying to ensure that we can have a rapid response to any terrorist attacks that Iran would try to implement, we're behind you and we support you. And to those terrorist leaders of Al-Shabaab, the West African Islamic terrorist organization, who just recently conducted an attack that killed American soldiers and a contractor, you're next.